Good afternoon. Got my McDonald's iced coffee, no ice. It's actually pretty good. It's the sugar-free vanilla iced coffee. Today I am going to talk about a little of my life over the last decade or two. So I'm going to try to be quick on the list. It is quite extensive. In fact, I had a doctor yesterday at an appointment, an all-day appointment that I had. At one point, kind of, is like we were talking about how badly the body's been beat up, and he was like, "Just when was your first surgery?" I'm 63. That first surgery was when I was about 31. It's been quite a few since then. That surgery was a nothing surgery, even though at the time it was pretty miserable for me. And yet I carry this very positive attitude. So, a quick list of what I've dealt with, and then how I have that positive attitude to this day. So, we're going to start way back when I was a little kid, and I didn't feel like I fit anywhere. That turned into, in my teenage years, pretty severe drug addiction, pretty severe belief that I'm just a misfit toy from the island of misfit toys. Pretty destructive behavior on my part. I finally got cleaned up, started practicing the suggestions and 12-step programs, thought my life was on track to a very happy life, got married, had 2 kids. In 2000, I was diagnosed with heart failure. Roughly 2005, the marriage began to fall apart, which was my world. That finally ended by 2010. I had moved out and actually, by joint support on both my wife and myself, I had moved out and moved on. I had started to become a minister. And over the years, I recovered from that. I did so by looking solely at my part in how that marriage fell apart. What was I responsible for? What was my contribution to the destruction? I did not worry about my wife's contribution. That's her job to worry about, not mine. Then in 2012, on a Sunday, I knew I was in physical trouble, but on a Sunday, I'm lying to my congregation telling them it's just a bronchitis. It was not. It was the heart failure had reached a point where I'm in big trouble. Wednesday, after just a few days after that Sunday, I'm laying in a hospital bed being told I am on permanent disability retirement. I brought myself down to Duke. I was literally at that point as close to death as you could be. I did recover down here. I entered Duke's cardiology program, was best decision I ever made. By 2014, again, the heart failure reached the point where I had to make a choice. Go quietly into the night at 50, or decide to fight back. I decided to fight back. This is an LVAD. It's the Heartware LVAD. They implanted it inside of me, which means they ripped me open from here to here. Full on open heart surgery. This thing saved my life. The reason that I was not eligible for transplant at the time was I had highly elevated pressures on the right side. It's known as pulmonary hypertension. The unknown was whether this was primary from the lungs or secondary related to the failure of the heart. Well, it turned out to be secondary, and we were getting all ready to transition me to transplantable when I had a GI bleed, which was common with these devices. And I was in the hospital for 3 days as they got the bleed under control, because the big thing is you have to take blood thinners with these things. And to stop a bleed, you got to stop the blood thinners. That's a tightrope. So they do it in the hospital. And on the last CT scan, to make sure that bleed had stopped so they could release me, I heard a doctor in the other room say, "Wait, what's that?" Right there on his kidney fluorescing. And I was like, oh. Sure enough, it was kidney cancer. Transplant history for now. They cut me open and they took 20% of my kidney. We waited 4.5 years. They decided I am as safe as you could be for transplant, because if you transplant someone with cancer in their body, you kill them. You waste the heart and you kill them. So we began to look at possibly transitioning me over to transplant again. And the pulmonary hypertension returned. No transplant. So I kept trucking along. And in 2020, at the height of COVID, my lungs started to fill up. I was just in excruciating misery. They were doing anything and everything, because it was COVID, to keep me out of the hospital. And we managed to pull that off until late 2020. And it finally was so bad right before Christmas, in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that they brought me into the hospital. And it took them a good 2 weeks to get me stable, because I was very well known up there at Duke. I knew all the cardiologists. They knew me very well. And at this point, I'd been living under the LVAD for 6 years. They knew I knew what I was doing. They knew I was safe. So they let me go home for Christmas, knowing I'm absolutely going to be back, because I haven't quite figured out things yet. I made it till January 16th. I went in January. I mentally broke when we discovered that my aortic valve had failed. The only reason I was alive was this little pump right here. It mentally broke me, because I found I was not going to go quietly into the night as I thought I would when we reached the end with the LVAD. I wasn't going to fight. I could not help myself. And the dichotomy of those two thoughts kind of mentally broke me. Had a massive bleed in my lung. Again, problems with LVADs. They finally got me cleared enough and enough water off me to actually really get an idea of what was going on. And then they decided they're going to do emergency surgery and rip me open again. They replaced the LVAD to put a prosthetic aortic valve in, and I got a new lease on life, but I'm going to keep going. Oh, I forgot. It said it's this huge record. In the interim, I had 2 strokes. In the interim between the kidney surgery and this second LVAD being put in, I also had to have a foot of my lower intestine ripped out of me. So I have had open heart surgery just the last 12, 13 years. Open heart surgery, kidney cancer, lost 20% of the kidney. Bowel surgery, lost a foot of my lower intestine. 2 strokes. And here I am again going to get my chest roped open. And they did that. So now I've got 2 open heart surgeries under my belt. In March, after I had gotten out, they did this early in mid-January. In March, after I had been out of the hospital and recovering, I'm driving down the road, and suddenly the whole road is spinning, and I'm puking. The vertigo and the spin was that bad. And I managed to be able, with my eyes closed, dial 911. I had pulled over and dialed 911. Couldn't open my eyes because I did. The world would just, and the ambulance come got me. I had another stroke. This one on the cerebellum. I have residuals from all 3 of those strokes. And then in March last year, March 8th to be exact, 20 days from today will be the 1-year anniversary. We have finally got me to the point where we could transplant me. That was a rough recovery. But I did it. I'm here. I'm darn near normal. In the interim, from March of last year to today, we thought I had myeloma. My blood is messed up. They finally determined it is an MGUS, monoclonal gangliopathy of unknown source. AKA, your blood is really messed up. It kind of looks like myeloma. It ain't. We really don't know what it is. As I sit here today, I just got done yesterday with an all-day appointment at Duke where they did a right and left heart cath. So they went in through the groin, into an artery for the right side, into a vein for the left side. They checked everything because I'm coming up on that 1-year anniversary. And your first year to transplant for a heart is your what they call it. I've heard it referred to as the mortal year. And now I'm going to have to, right here, which is the side that they did the kidney surgery on, I've got a hernia, and they're going to have to fix that. And yet, I am loving life. I've been on a fixed income for over a decade now, and I'm always robbing Peter to pay Paul, and yet I live a good life. How do I do this? Well, God. I believe, obviously, I'm a minister in God. I believe God has guardian angels watching me. I'll put a picture up of a mutt. Well, she's not a mutt. A little dog, and she wasn't little. She was 70 pounds, but she was my little dog in my mind. Peanut, she was a mix American Pit Bull and a Staffordshire Terrier. American Staffordshire Terrier. And that little girl came into my life in 2013 when I moved to North Carolina. She carried me through that entire decade of a nightmare. And she left me literally the Friday before they told me, we're going to be able to transplant you. That was an angel that God sent me. Here's how I live, though. I put one foot in front of the other. I do not dwell on unfair or bad things that happen to me. We all have massively unfair bad things happen to us. I do not sit and obsess about the fact that now the first hit that I will have to pay under my insurance for my Cellcept, one of the vital anti-rejection drugs I take, a drug must be taken. Because of the deductible not yet met this year, that first month was going to be $715. I can't afford that. So instead of, I can't afford, this is so unfair, I went and I did research after research after research, and I found a way to get that drug for $48 a month. In this case, through GoodRx. It required me to change pharmacies to do that, but I will do that. The way I am able to go through life and enjoy life and be positive of life is I am proactive in everything I do. I do not dwell on the bad. I take what life has thrown me. I've often raised my girls and often said to my oldest and her friends, look, life is just going to shovel horse dung on your head over and over. Your job is not to grab a shovel yourself and join in. That's how I look at life. I'm not going to ball up on the floor and say, oh, poor's me, woe's me. Life is so mean to me. It's so unfair. Why aren't these people fair to me? I'm not going to do that. I also do not assume in any way, shape, or form that I deserve anything. I do not. All life owed me was life. What that life is and how it is not owed me. That is up to me to create and decide how it will be. Take what life gives you. Live your life on life's terms. Use the secret I use. Weird Bitholorad. Destiny is all. Fate is inexorable. And God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I have no control over anything. The courage to change the things I can. What I can change, what I can control, is how I choose to face all the things I cannot control. And the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know you can't change anything. And all you can control is how you choose to respond. Live life on life's terms. Accept what life throws at you. Choose to respond to it in the best possible way you can, in the most upbeat way you can. Do what you can do, accept what you cannot do anything about. That's the secret. That's it. The Serenity Prayer. That's the secret.